So, hi, I'm Alex James, and today's What's Your Story? I'd like to introduce you to Big Ian. Now, he's called Big Ian because his surname, and I don't want to offend anybody who's got the same surname, but I've already called you Donaghy, Donahue.
And one of them was right.
Donahue.
What you thought was wrong first is right. And that's the whole self.
Donaghy or Donahue now?
Donaghy is the one.
Donaghy, right?
Yeah.
So my guest today is Ian Donaghy, and he is known as Big Ian. Now, Big Ian is one of the most generous people that I have ever virtually met, because we've never actually got round to meeting. And you sent me your book, The Missing Piece, a few years ago now,
I did.
and what an excellent read that was. Yeah. That's it. And so we started talking, and we've been kind of on and off talking ever since about all the wonderful charitable events and things you do. But I want to go back and capture you like I always do with people. So can we begin at a point that you're comfortable with in your early years and tell us a little bit about your life?
Certainly. I was born in the northeast of England, in a place called Bishop Auckland. I grew up in a place called Towlaw. I was kind of like Billy Elliot, who couldn't dance. And so where we're from, it's a small sort of former mining village. Everybody knows everybody. There's no secrets anywhere. And it was a pretty rough place to grow up, but I didn't know that, because you don't know it's a rough place to grow up because you've got nothing to compare it to. Yeah. But when you go back and you see and you think, oh, goodness me, you have to be very hard, right? Or very funny. And a good talk.
That's hard without knowing it's hard, really, isn't
it?
Yeah.
But so I just learned to be a very good talker. And if you make people laugh, you keep out of bother usually. I was pretty good at school. Naturally quite gifted at stuff. Didn't have to work too hard. And then I went to the secondary school, and then I realised actually I was the cleverest kid in our school. But when you go to this one, I remember the first term, I was 14th in the class. And I went, what's this about? And I realised I had to do some work. I grew up there. My dad was the deputy head, was a very well thought of character in the community. My dad was real proper down to earth, salt of the earth guy, lovely bloke. And I wasn't a blue-eyed boy at school, but I did all right. I got what I needed, and had a lovely time, really. It was a nice place to grow up, and then came to York when I was 18.
Do you have brothers and sisters, Ian?
Right, now there's a one. I was an only child till I did my A-levels. And then I applied to university. And then as a little surprise, unbeknownst to anybody, my mum found out, after thinking that she couldn't have any more children after me in 1970, that in 1987, she was 6 months pregnant. My dad was 50.
My goodness. Oh, my goodness. What a shock.
My dad, I was head boy at school, and everyone says, what's happened to your dad? Oh, and my dad was walking around the school, and everyone was almost applauding him on the corridors. And there was my dad, it was, I remember going into a pub one night, and my dad got a round of applause, and he just said, hey, lads, many a tune's being played on an old fiddle. And it was shocking. It was shocking. So where most people get a cat or a dog when when one of their kids goes to college, yeah, me mum and dad got me sister. I know.
Oh, wow.
Shocked me. Then went away to York.
How did they tell you? How did they tell you? That's really interesting.
Well,
was it awkward?
Well, no, it was really bad, because a few years ago, a few years previous to that, my mum, who was a big monarchist and all this sort of thing, I came in from school, and I remember this was brutal. Went, guess who's having a baby? And I remember going crazy, saying, there's no way you can. I'm 12, and I'm this. And then after the end of my rant, she went, Princess Diana. And so we kind of had it out, 5 years previous. And yeah, they just broke it to me. And the thing is, our local GP was a gynecologist. He should have known, but he took her in for a cancer scan. And so they said, your mum's been in for a cancer scan. I thought, oh no, my mum's got cancer. And then he went, but she hasn't got cancer, but you're getting a sister in 3 months. And I went, you're joking. It was just bizarre. But me, so I was brought up as an only child, really. My sister was brought up as an only child. I've got a sibling there that when things hit the fan, she's there. It's a strange relationship because I'm kind of like her uncle.
Yeah.
Rather than a brother. I'm a sort of halfway house between the generations. But she's a good lass, and it's all right, yeah. But it's not the normal sort of thing where
No.
he was 2 years older than you, where you nick records and stuff like that.
How old were they, your mum and dad, when they had her?
Well, my dad was 51 and my mum was 40, and
Oh, so it's a good age difference between them then. So
yeah,
yeah.
but to be honest, you never really noticed because my dad, I don't know, I don't think my mum, I don't know whether my mum kept my dad young or my dad made my mum older. But you never really thought there was a big age difference because my dad had quite a young outlook from working with kids. And always had. He left the school he went to at 18, went to Sheffield for 2 years, and then came back and taught his mates till, and then his mates' kids, then his mates' grandkids, then his mates'
Wow.
great grandkids until he retired. So it was quite a nice thing.
Yeah.
And I actually got to teach with my dad for 6 months. I got my teaching degree in 93, and I got a phone call from my teacher, my maths teacher, who said, Ian, it's Mr. Goy here. I'm in hospital. I'm not well. I've got ulcers all over my digestive system. I'm out of the game. I need somebody who knows how I teach, knows the school, is known in the school, gets how it works. Will you come and be second in department? Like, this is me with a fresh degree. He says, we will pay you as second in department and we'll pay your travel expenses from York every day if you'll come and do this for a term and a half. And I went, yeah, I'll do it. And it was mint. It was so much fun because people used to ask me, they used to say, oh, I've got this teacher called Mr. Donaghy from Tower Law. And they went, oh, I had him, Charlie, great bloke. What? And he went, well, no, he's in his 20s. He went, well, he can't be. What's still? Oh, he's 6 foot odd, big, heavy guy, pair of glasses. He's from Tower Law. And he went, yeah, that's him. He can't be 27. He went, he can't be 20 odd. He went, no, he definitely is. He went, well, he taught me. He taught me in 1960 odd. And then people were asking me, my dad, they were saying, is the other Mr. Donaghy, is he your son? And my dad said, son? He's my brother. So my dad was just having fun with that. And it was just a lovely thing to work alongside my dad and also to go back to some of the teachers that really liked me and others who really didn't, because that made them very uncomfortable when they realized I was the other side of the desk, and that was it. So, and at the time, I went back to school. Now, the reason I'm big, Ian, I went back to school and I was a bit bigger. I grew when I left school and I grew. I went back to teach in 93, 94. I was 28 stone.
Really?
Yeah. I was in a 64-inch jacket. I was
Really?
yeah. So I'd worked as like a bouncer in Durham and stuff like that before. And yeah, I was a lot bigger than when I left. And that was me. And now I'm like 12 and a half stone lighter. So
You've lost all that weight.
yeah, and it works. I can't believe that I used to carry more than my wife around on my shoulders and around a tennis court and at gigs and everything. I can't imagine how I did it.
Wow.
But I did. So says him with a thing of Red Bull.
Red Bull. So, Ian, do you think that having that childhood, that sounds like really stable, good, solid background? I mean, what gave you this compassion, this caring for other people? Because you spend most of your time, in fact, all of your time, don't you now, looking out for and trying to raise money for your charities, which we'll talk about later. But where does that come from then?
Well, I think it's from being one of a long list of worriers. Right? My nana was a worrier. I think my mum was a worrier. And I think worriers are people, it's a term that's used for people really with empathy.
Yeah.
I think. And yet the term worrier is deemed as quite a a negative thing, isn't it? And yet having empathy is a positive thing. I grew up around a lot of old people. And I think that is the secret of all the success here, because it's all about how you talk to people, and it's all about how you listen to people. It's all about how you pick up the bits.
Yeah.
You pick up their little sayings. And so I'm a bit of I was always a young fogey. I had
a young fogey. That's a great saying. I'll pinch that from you.
Yeah, wisdom beyond me years, because I was just going next door and play pairs with next door neighbours, and they all would get the cards out and I'd play their piano, and and they'd always bake biscuits. And as you can see, at 28 stone 8, I wasn't averse to trying out. And I just liked talking to people, but not groups of people. I like to sit down with somebody just like this.
Yeah.
Right? If somebody was to say to me, we're going out, like, not that we can, but if someone said we're going out and there's 20 of us going out, I will say, yes, I'm going, but it's 6 o'clock on that Friday night. I reckon there's an 80% chance I'll cry off, right? Yeah. Using the excuse that I've had a mad busy week from work and I've just come in from Nottingham, or I've got off the train from King's Cross or whatever. And I just think I have no wish, right, to be a face in the crowd or to talk to, have to pick people out. And it's a nightmare. So I much prefer I much prefer a Parkinson interview than a Graham Norton interview. When you've got a big settee and everyone's fighting for the thing, I prefer the idea of just a one-to-one where you can really listen and find something out. And I think that's what it is. So when I communicate and I've got a room with 2,000 people in, the one success or something that I would deem a success is if I haven't played to an audience of 2,000, but I've played to 2,000 audiences of one. And that's the way I look at everything. So when I do when I make a film, when I'm doing a big talk or whatever, try and draw people in and say, right, get rid of the other people. It's just you and me. And I think that's what radio does. I think, when Terry Wogan retired, he said this thing, thank you for being my friend, and he said that thing about one listener. And that's it, totally. I think television broadcasts to lots of people. I think radio plays to one person, and that person in the kitchen. And I try and do that with me speaking. And I thank all those old people who used to come round to our house and just talk and used to make us laugh and tell stories. And can I be right? I filled my books with them, these stories.
Stories, yeah.
And
we are very similar like that, because that's what I like, people's stories. There's such a richness in it, isn't there?
Like I wrote one
learning.
I wrote one the other day, because I'm doing a new book at the moment, and I remembered this story about this woman in a care home. I was doing some training, some dementia communication training for some care stuff, and there was a break. And in the break, I always like to go into the care home and meet the people and steal all of their biscuits. And so before I went into pink wafer bourbon cream poisoning, I just thought, right, I'm going to meet some people. So I met this woman, and she went, "Oh, you're a big man. Oh, you're a big man." And then she told me about how her dad was a big man, how he was 6'4", and then how her brother was 6'4", and then and our brother used to scare off the lads, right, and said, "Listen, you're good enough for me, mate, but you're not good enough for me sister," right? And he'd frighten them all off. And then this woman was talking about how she missed having a big warm man around her where she felt safe and she felt nothing could go wrong and all this sort of thing. And bless her, we were talking away. And then she said, "I've got my photo albums and I can go to them, and that's beautiful. And I can close my eyes and I can cheat because I can see all the things in there." She says, "There's one thing I can't do." And she said, "Can I ask you a favor?" I thought, what the hell is she going to ask me here? And this lady who was like 89 and 4'8", she said, "Can I have a cuddle?"
Oh, bless.
And so there I was, big daft me. And I just gave this woman a cuddle. And she just like clung on. And I remember there was a Tony Bennett song playing in the background. The Sunday when I'm awfully low.
Oh, yeah.
The way you look tonight, beautiful song. And so there she is, and she's just moving away from one foot to the other, just gently, right? And there she is, and bless her, it was really odd. And then, you know, I don't know how long it lasted. And she came up and she had like a tear in her eye, and great big smile. And I honestly thought, it felt like somebody had borrowed me. Like it's like
Wow.
somebody had sent a message using this big lump here, and it felt really cool. And I thought, wow. And so I wrote that down the other day, and as I wrote down, I thought it felt like I'd almost been possessed, but nobody wanted an exorcist. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? There
Yeah.
was nobody wanted any, and it was, and things like that happen to me all the time. I mean, really cool people.
Yeah.
And the thing that gets me, Alex, is this: there are two white rhinos alive in the world today, and there's Ellen about that, right? Because one's a mother and one's a daughter, so there's going to be no more white rhinos, right? Unless somebody does a Jurassic Park job, it ain't going to happen. Now, we're concerned about white rhinos, and fair enough. But there aren't 88-year-olds and 92-year-olds and all these people who know stuff that we'll never know.
Yeah, I agree.
Why are we not harvesting all of these people who are like Google with slippers, right? Yeah. Why are we not asking them? Because otherwise, all we'll have is opinion and propaganda. But if we ask them, we'll have what happened. And I just think we need to do that more. And I don't know why we're not. I would now have as soon as the doors open here, I would have an audit and get schools and kids to do a practical audit that says, right, this generation, talk to that generation, find out. Don't go through historical sources and look at these and all this other. I tell you what, talk to one.
When I was a kid, we used to go visiting at the old people's homes, and we used to take Harvest Festival around there. Yeah. And we had an old person that was our old person, and we'd go and sit and talk to them. And we learned. And like you, I have a really big affinity with the elderly, because I think they are unheard now. And a lot of them, like you say, are being forgotten, and they slip away. And the richness of the stories that they can share are lost. And actually, some of them have the most amazing humour, and some of them have the most amazing sadness and experiencing, but they're all inspirational because they're still here. And they talk about how they've survived things. So those are life lessons.
But they won't be.
No, but they won't be. That's right.
I find it remarkable that we're not doing this. What we're doing is we're spending all our time, right, taking photos of ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, we know what we look like. Okay. Yeah. And then we spend all the time taking photos of ourselves that then try for the next half hour to stop them making look like ourselves. And I just think, well, hold on, why are we doing that? All it's going to do is, in years to come, we're going to look ridiculous. We are going to look, you know, I'll tell you what it is. People used to say, and Henry VIII, this big, fat, ugly man, brought in portrait painters to make him look thinner and more of an athlete and this, that, and the other. And you just think, hold on, we're doing this, only our portrait painters are in here and we're making us thinner and removing like. The thing that gets me is, I'm on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn a lot. It's a really good resource for people to share ideas.
Are you following me?
I don't know whether I am.
I must follow you on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, I'm big on LinkedIn.
Well, my son says it's better than Facebook. Totally. It is really the.
Well, and he knows what he's on about.
Yeah. Well, he's in media, isn't he?
He knows what he's on about.
Don't forget your LinkedIn. Yeah.
The LinkedIn thing is a real good community. It's been a real positive community during the COVID thing. And you share ideas and you get to meet people you never would. And I've made some things happen with a group of people on LinkedIn. They've been so supportive of the things. And the thing that gets me is some people on LinkedIn have got profile pictures that are all through all these filters. And you just think, there is. and then you meet them. Then you meet these people at the conference and they go, oh, Ian, we like your stuff on LinkedIn. Because they all recognize me because, like, when I'm at a conference, I always speak in the same pair of glasses. I speak in me in me blue glasses. So everyone kind of recognises it. And then they say, "Oh, I've got you," and I'm thinking, I don't know who you are. And then they say, "It's me, it's so and so," and you go,
That's
"Really?"
right. Yeah.
And it's like,
That is so right.
and like some of them have got like photos that that they could have used on a dating site in 1994. You know what
I
I
hope
mean?
you're not having a dig at me.
I haven't seen Alex. I will pass.
I know.
I'll pass
I'm going to quickly go and change my profile picture when I.
yeah, be quick, be quick.
Yeah, when
So
I
yeah,
go.
so that's the thing. So I think it's just that meeting, working with older people, and I just feel lucky, and
Yeah.
they click with me, and I click with them, and everybody notices that, and it kind of relaxes all the other people, and there's humour.
Yeah.
A lot of the like little films I make is all about. Somebody said to me, you don't talk to those ladies like they're old
No.
ladies. You talk to them like they're lasses." And I went,
Yeah.
"Well, because they're lasses. They just, if you ask somebody, are you old? Not many people will tell you that you're old. My hair looks like it's old, okay, right? But I don't feel like I'm old.
How
Do you know
old
what I
are
mean?
you?
Well, I'm 50,
Oh,
right?
that's not old though, is it? Come
I know,
on.
but I tell you what.
That's middle aged.
See, no, it can't be. See, middle-aged sounds old. You can't use this term out. See,
No.
the joke is, I think things have changed now. We once got to a point where we marched them up to the top of the hill and we marched them down again. And I think we're almost hoping that we now keep marching
Yeah.
and keep marching and keep marching. And when it gets to the point where the Grand Old Duke of York says, "Let's march them down again," we hope that night we go to bed
And we
and
have a
not
good
ill.
death. Yeah.
And
We
not ill.
fall asleep. Yeah, and
And
that's
that,
it. Yeah.
and that I think is the model we strive for. And it's all about the work I do with older people is all about trying to get the best out of the
Yeah.
hand of cards that you're dealt. And if the hand of cards that you're dealt means that your legs don't work anymore, or that you have other mobility problems, or you have cognitive difficulty, or you've got dementia, whatever, just think, right, let's see what ingredients we can get on the counter and let's see what we can make. Because do you
Yeah.
know what? If someone said, right, all you've got is bread, beans, and cheese, right, for the rest of your life, well, can I be honest? I can live in beans and cheese on toast quite happily, and that'll be lovely. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think we've got to make the best of what we can,
Yeah.
and that's the whole idea with all the films, with the books I write, with everything.
Tell me
Talk.
something, because I've shared this struggle with you and I know it myself. And I can feel really frustrated. I'd be interested to know whether you get that too, this frustration, or sometimes I just don't get it. Like here I am, here you are, doing this amazing work, and you're not getting anything back for it. You're just doing it, and you've got the biggest heart. So and your whole story is about helping people, helping them, and you approach somebody who could just give you that little lift. Now, I'm not going to mention any celebrities here, but I know that you have.
Yeah.
And you have to go, like you say, doffing your cap. You have to go cap in hand to them and say, please, would you just, if you just even said, hello, Mavis, to Mavis in this old people's home, I can't tell you what that is going to do for Mavis, but perhaps the rest of her life, she'll never forget that you said hello because she loves you, Tom Jones or whatever your name is. To get somebody to do that, and I do understand that they have a lot to do and they're busy.
Yeah.
But I'm not too busy. I'm never too busy if somebody asks me for something. And sometimes the cost to me is huge because I want to do something else and I'm having to do this because I've said I'll do it for somebody. And I know that you're the same. And the cost to you in time is huge. Doesn't it hurt just a little bit when people just don't bother to come back?
No,
or they don't bother to answer?
No, it's fine with me. Right?
I get disappointment, you see.
No,
I get really disappointed.
No is okay, right? No is okay. If you ask somebody to do something and they say no, right? What they've actually said is, yes, I'm not going to waste any more of your time.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Right? Now, whereas if they say, oh, I might, I'll get back to you. Oh, I might. That's a mess, right? I'd rather someone says, tell you what, no, bump. There you go.
Yeah.
No. And I've had people say yes to me.
Yeah.
And I've had, I've had lovely people. I've had people like, as I say, people who've helped me with Night to Remember. I've had people like Anton de Beck help me, Ricky Wilson from the Kaiser Chiefs, the Hairy Bikers, Barry McGuigan, Rick Astley. I've had some wonderful people. And do you know what? I've asked a lot of people, people like Nick Knowles. Nick Knowles. I got in touch with him because I like the guy on the telly. I like
Are
the
you
day.
like me? Do you just go in direct
Oh,
like I do and say hello? Can you help?
yeah. And so it was good. And Nick, we were on the stage sound checking at Night to Remember, and it was about 6 o'clock. I already had the Ricky Wilson film for 1 year, and then basically my phone went ping at 6 o'clock. So at 7:15, well, 7 o'clock, 1,800 people come in the thing. I get this thing, and it's from Nick Knowles, and he's recorded me a film, a little thing saying, love the stuff you do, blah, blah, blah. And it was just great. And I went, so I just grabbed my phone, and then just went, right, I've got to get this formatted, make it look a bit prettier, right? Get it to me AV guy who's halfway up the thing up there. And we're going to open the show with that in an hour and a half. Now, I don't think Bono's doing that.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So there we are, running around like blue-ass flies. But do you know, that's it. That's cool. He said he'd do it, and he did it. And that was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Like, little things like, in my recent book, there's a gentleman called Tony Husband.
What is the recent book? Let's have a look.
The recent book is this. It's called A Pocket Full of Kindness.
I love that.
And
you didn't send me that one. You're going to say, go and buy it.
Right. This came out in September, Pocket Full of Kindness. And the cartoon, and the whole idea of this is, and you'll like this, is it says, this book has been gifted to, and then you write who it's for, and then you write the reason you've given them the book.
Oh, how lovely is that? I love that.
Yeah, and so 4,000 other people. And
that's
so
fabulous.
And so the
idea, pocket full
is,
of kindness.
So you write down what beautiful piece of kindness they've done for you to help you. And then Tony Husband, who's Private Eyes cartoonist, drew me this for the front. Now you'll recognise Tony's work because he's everywhere in Fleet Street, newspapers and Private Eye and everything. And there he is, a bloke tapping away on his phone, #BeKind, and behind him is an old lady with a shopping, and he's just slammed the door in her face because he's still tapping on his phone about kindness. And the idea of the book is, it's about little things. Like there's a story. So, for instance, there's a story about Barry McGuigan, when Barry McGuigan helped me out with my Dementia as a Team game work. I've got things like, stories, and everything's illustrated like this. And did this all myself. Wrote it during lockdown. One of my mates edited it in 2 rooms during lockdown, and then got it printed, sent off. And companies have really gone mad on that, because I've done bespoke versions of it with their logos on the front. So down there they would have their logo or something, and on the back, okay. And it's been very, very, very well received. And there's talk of it being adapted to be a play in York in 2022.
Oh, fabulous. Am I going to get an invite?
Well, I think you should.
Every time you invite me to something, I can't get there because...
Well, I know.
That's how it happens. But I really...
It's not been the best, for, like I had the missing piece, the play of the missing piece, this thing here. Like I have it all recorded. I've got the narration done by Game of Thrones actor Mark Addy.
I remember, because we were going to come up, weren't we? I was bringing my girlfriends to see it.
It's all done. And then, of course, that was due for April the 17th, 2020. Yeah. Of course, it got pulled. So it's all ready to go when things are there. And
my goodness, we got so much to look forward to.
And I tell you what, that is. And during lockdown, a couple of actors, one who was from Game of Thrones and one, do you remember Rev with Olivia Colman and, what's he called? Tom Holland's Tom Hollands, is he called?
No.
Anyway, there's an
To
actor
be
on that.
honest, I don't watch a lot of
Oh, well, there's
TV,
an actor
so.
called Steve Evans, and he got one of the monologues from The Missing Piece, and he said, "Would you mind if I learnt it?" And he recorded it, and it was stunning. I'll send you it.
Oh, I would. I'd love it.
It's incredible. You won't believe that that I wrote it, because it feels like it was him and that he lived it and all that. So there's lots of stuff to look forward to now. When everyone's got vaccines in their arm. I've got one vaccine in my arm because I work with.
Oh,
Yes, because I work with older people, and so they got all the care team in, and so awaiting the other. I think care homes will be more back to normal before the rest of the world.
I hope so. I
Um,
hope so.
because a lot of
Because
the
their time now is so precious, isn't it?
oh,
And to have that stolen away, that's a big sadness with me.
I
I've got
think
to.
time is precious at every age, though. I look at my kids and I think, do you know what? My 17-year-old has had a sixth form stolen, which is great. And like she's, great time. She should be having loads of fun at parties and stuff like this. And she's
Yeah.
having, and I'm can I be honest, Zoom ain't the same as staying out till 2 in the morning and then
No.
making excuses the next morning.
No.
And my lad's 14, and you think, wow, you're missing out on a lot of things. But the only saving grace is that all 14-year-olds and
Yeah.
all 17-year-olds and
Yeah.
all 50-year-olds and all 80-year-olds are missing out on this. It's not as if some people are having, a moment in the sun and having a great time and living it up, and the rest of us are having a miserable time. It's the fact is, if everyone's in it, then
we're in it together, aren't we?
yeah, it's okay. And I hope we'll learn loads from this.
I think there has been some really big good things about it. And I think that children will look back on it and remember being around their parents more, because parents can't escape. I mean, I remember thinking that last summer when my neighbours were having water fights in their garden and building dens and doing all sorts of things that perhaps they wouldn't have done because life generally is too busy. This has put the world on pause, hasn't it, really?
That was easy when the weather was beautiful. And we're all like, I wrote that in my garden. I got the garden done up, put a new decking area in and all that sort of thing. And then I just went out there in the sunshine and wrote. But as I look out of the window today, and there's snow on the roof over there, but it's that sort of not really proper snow. It's just sort of the stuff that's a bit irritating and a bit slippy if you fall over. And I think this is a much tougher thing. Like, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but when you watch the telly now, they're not really preparing for the end of the tunnel. The ongoing sort of being in the tunnel is almost a comfort, because they don't have to come up with a solution or come up with a sort of a plan, really. As long as you're in the tunnel, it's work in progress, but there's no exit strategy, which seems a bit
feels a bit like that. I've been doing some training for track and trace callers, and I'm saying to them that I think the whole country is in a loss process now. We've all got losses of varying degrees, but we're also in this state of chaotic limbo, because we actually don't really know. There's so much uncertainty, and there's just so much, isn't there, going on for everybody.
And we are each asking each other, when do you think things will be all right? We're all hoping that somebody gives them an answer that they're wanting to hear. You mentioned this grieving process.
Yes.
Now, I've noticed this because a lot of people come to me for motivation, and they come to me and say, what do you think about this work? And it's really nice being the person that they come to. It feels like you're sort of like some sort of, warm fire burning that they put their hands up to. But sometimes you think, do you know, I'm finding this pretty tough myself.
Yeah.
And I found this one particularly tough. And when you mention this grieving process, one thing I've noticed is this. I've been sleeping a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's true of
and
a lot of people.
What you do is, with a grieving process, you wrap yourself up in a duvet.
Yeah.
Right? Or, as we've got, teddy bear duvets. If you haven't discovered them, they're like a sort of like a teddy bear type material that when you get into bed, it's already warm.
Oh, wow.
They're a genius. And so I've noticed that going to bed earlier, sleeping longer, right? And even sleeping during the day when you're watching telly on a night, dozing off and all this. Like seriously, some days I'm exercising a lot when I'm awake, but it's like you almost feel that you're sleeping. And when you're sleeping, things don't bother you.
Yeah.
And it's all that.
Maybe that's why then. Maybe that's why
I think
everybody's kind of hiding in their
yeah, I think it's a coping
sleep.
strategy that says, you
Yeah.
know, make the world go away,
Yeah.
as the song would go. And I think that people are almost doing that.
Yeah.
And if you know, if they were to put a thing up on the news today and said first bong, it says, right, if you have this app on your phone, you can push that button and go to sleep until
I know what you're going to say, until it's over, and we would
until it's
all
over.
do it. We would
Until the
all
world is over.
do.
You can go into, you know, you can go into Walt
Yeah.
Disney Frozen mode and just
Yeah.
go press and just go
And we
right.
would just do
That'll
it.
do me. So and then
Oh,
it don't matter
goodness.
whether it's March, April, May,
No.
June, October. Don't matter, because I tell you what, it'll be tomorrow when I wake up.
Oh,
Wouldn't that be amazing, Alex?
it would be amazing.
You know,
Ian,
I think
Ian, just tell me before we part company, because I do want to do another one of these with you later on when this is over, so that we can find out what you're up to. But the new book,
yes,
yeah, Be Kind.
pocket
Are
full of
you working? Are you working on a production of that? Then is there going to be another
well,
big fundraiser coming next year? Have you got
well,
plans?
well, the plans are the imminent plans when things open up. The missing piece will be on at the Just Roundtree's Theatre in York.
And I'm coming. Don't
It's
forget.
a
Book my
beautiful
place.
300 seat theatre, beautiful place. The current, the creative head of the Theatre Royal in York has this, and he's reading through it now. And we're trying to see if we can develop putting this on at the Theatre Royal in York, which is the oldest theatre outside of London
Wow.
in the UK. So we're hoping with that. A year ago, February the 29th, we did A Night to Remember, and we just avoided lockdown. And do you want to know something ridiculous, right? A Night to Remember was next door to the Stay City Hotel where the very first outbreak of COVID was in the UK.
Wow.
The Barbican, where we do Night to Remember, a month previous, two Chinese students were there, and that they were the first outbreak. And so we got Night to Remember done, and we should be doing it at the end of this month. And of course, we can't. Normally, people would be rehearsing in my music room at home. I've got a 15-foot square room, and we normally put 16 people in there, all around the piano and with guitars and stuff. And we haven't got any of that. We haven't got any of it. So, you know, they said that the day that Buddy Holly died, according to American Pie, is the day that music died. But I think the day that music died, certainly for a long time, was March the 20th, 2020. And I've done one gig since then. We did a gig for 23 people in a garden in September. And that's it. Yesterday, I played guitar in anger. Okay, I got some of my favourite old tunes out. I just got on guitar and I sang as hard as I would if it was a gig. And it felt wonderful. And I'm missing that. I'm missing that. I'm missing the groups of people. I'm just missing normality. The thing that's strange is, apart from 3 people who I live with, I ain't cuddled anybody. I ain't given anybody a kiss. I ain't shaken anybody's hand. I ain't done anything.
And neither have I. But I don't live with anyone, so I'm on my own. I've got my dogs. It is hard. Yeah,
it's a
very
really
hard.
strange thing. And you know what? I think people are going to find it very, very difficult. I think they're going to have to have a bit of pre-season training before they get social. I do. I think people are going to be really, really odd, you know. And I took one of the guys who we sort of given an eye to, and he had a real bad cancer scare. Really bad cancer scare. And he's had a few. Like, he's 80 years old and he should be dead and he isn't. Like, I just said, the Reaper really don't want you. And he's a really good bloke. And he features in my book. He actually is in this book. And I took him there. And do you know what he did? He was so relieved So they did this sort of exploratory thing, and they found that there was nothing wrong with him. And they told him there and then. He didn't have to wait for results. He said, no, you've got this, and that ain't great, but that ain't a problem. He says, but you're cancer free. And do you know what? He came out. I gave him a lift to the hospital because I wouldn't have him go in a taxi. And floods of tears, right? And do you know what he says? He says, I'm really sorry, mate. He says, but I've got to do this. And he's been in lockdown up the road. I'm locked down here, and we're just delivering pies and curries and stuff like that, and discuss what we're watching on telly. And he just grabbed my hand, and nobody had touched my hand. And he just shook my hand. So he says, you've no idea, mate. You've no idea. And do you know what? I thought, what are you doing touching me hand? And then I just thought, you're just doing what people do. And it was a beautiful thing, but I just thought, how desperate must he be? 80 years old. You know, he's 80 years old and he's having these years nicked.
Yeah. But I want to end it there on that, because I don't think you really do realise. I think you know, because you get joy out of giving. But I can't think that you can even begin to realise all the joy that you've brought people over the years with all the stuff that you're doing. You are pretty amazing.
Well,
and
I enjoy it.
And it has been a pleasure. You've put a big smile on my face today, and it has been an absolute pleasure to see you at last, because we just keep chatting on the phone. And and you know, I really am looking forward to when we can meet in person. So,
indeed,
Big Ian,
pleasure.
Thank you so much. Keep safe and well, and let's talk again soon. Thank you.
Brilliant.